I believe that moving with each other is a huge step into a relationship and should not be considered lightly. Giving up your home and joining someone else together, that says a lot about where the relationship is and where you guys are at. And if you don't give it enough time and attention that it needs, it can bottle up and become something that could be very destructive and can hurt your relationship in a long run and damage it in a way that you weren't expecting it, and probably it might not be fixed. So just to make it a little bit easier for you to understand and better be able to kind of put these little pieces together, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of suggestion that can help you better determine if your relationship is ready to be taken to the next level or if your relationship needs a little bit of more adjustment. These tips are not fixed, so if you have any more ideas of ways that you think are important to recognize, or you have experienced ways that were important, leave them down below so we can talk about it. The first thing that is important to see is that ask yourself, are you moving in with that person to strengthen your relationship? Let me give you an example. So imagine you have this relationship that is going great and you wonder if by moving together that can make your relationship stronger, and you're using it as a way to gauge your relationship strength. And if you're thinking, you know what, I really love this person and my partner is awesome and he loves me, but I'm not sure, and I think if we live together he better understand how awesome and how amazing I am, and maybe he will ask me to get married. If anytime you're doing this to see if your relationship has the strengths to make it, you're making a big mistake. First of all, it's an unfair test to a relationship. And secondly, you have the potential to lose a lot. Not only some of your material things, but you have a chance of losing a really great relationship that if it had enough time and space could grow into something really great. And moving in together may force that relationship into a pattern that is not ready to be forced into. Second thing, you have yet to have your first fight or your first argument. And if you haven't had an argument or a fight and you just say that we never fight, this is just lack of knowledge. This is not wise, and the reason is that because if you haven't had an argument, or if you think that when you live together you'll see that how much of an amazing couple you guys are, it's a wrong kind of test. Because having an argument shows how healthy your relationship is. If you guys are two independent people, which you guys are, you guys gonna have conflict, and it's important for you to recognize, okay, when I have conflict, how do I address those conflicts? How do I deal with those conflicts? And if you haven't had a relationship argument, or if you haven't had a disagreement, maybe there is something's wrong. Maybe one of you, I'm not gonna say you, but maybe your partner, maybe you guys are in the relationship of pleasing the other person and their needs. Because regardless of what type of relationship you have, regardless of who you are, every individual has their own characteristic, and every characteristic is unique to themselves. No two are alike, and there's got to be one point where one person with the other person, especially if they're living together or if they're about to live together, they're gonna come up to a decision that is not equally acceptable by either one of you. And if you haven't had your first argument, that means you don't know how your partner or how the person that you are with reacts to certain situations that are unpleasant. Arguments are not pleasant, although they're necessary, but they're not fun. And everyone reacts differently to arguments. So it's important for you to see, how do you guys react to arguments? So if you're thinking, well, the reason we're gonna move in together is because we never fight, we always get along, and I think this will be great, you're gonna be in a big trouble, because every time you're with a person 24/7, and if you stay honest to who you are, there's gonna be argument. And I'm afraid that you're gonna blame it on the fact that you guys are living together, and that's not the issue at all. It's that you finally let your guard down, you or your partner, and you felt comfortable. And this doesn't mean that when you fight, you're gonna fight fairly. So I think in this case, it's important for you to reconsider moving together. Third, you haven't talked about money, and this is the most obvious thing, but it gets neglected so often. And you have to understand where you are financially, where your partner is financially, what do you guys spend money in. You need to know how much your partner makes, what's his credit score, and know that when you guys move in together and live together, you guys might be responsible for each other. And if you're not ready and you say we're gonna figure it out as we're gonna go on, that's not being smart, that's not being mature, that's not thinking clearly. And if you're going to live with someone, you have to make sure to have the financial talk of what is mine, what is yours, especially if there is no legal bounding. You need to know what you're signing on with your partner. If you co-sign an argument, if you're getting in groceries, if you're getting an apartment, or even what do they do with their time, where do they work, are they good with their job, are they good with where they're standing, what degree do they want to get, and if that degree, what's their plan after that. It's nice to think that, oh, everything is gonna be fantastic, we're gonna live together, he's so enthusiastic about his future, this is just for now, tomorrow he will be perfect, he will have that dream job, he will live in that beautiful white castle on top of the hill. And here's the thing, that doesn't always happen, and when that doesn't happen, you're in for a whole shock and you're gonna be regretting all of your decisions. So before it gets to that point, before you start building up this broken, unrealistic foundation of where you guys are with your relationship, ask your partner, where are they, how are they, what's their plan, where are they in terms of them reaching their plan. Is it 2 years from now, is it 3 years from now? Meanwhile, before they finish their school, before they get to that dream job that they talk about all the time, how are they taking care of themselves, how are they paying for stuff? And if here's the most important question, if they didn't make it, if that didn't happen, what is their second route? What is their next option? What are they planning to do? And if they don't have answer to that, they say, oh, I'm not sure, I haven't thought about it. That's a clear sign that that person is not mature enough or ready enough to take that relationship to a next step. Because think about this all the time and ask yourself, are you okay with that state that you are right now? If yes, and the answer might be yes, you might say, oh yeah, I'm okay with where I am, we're okay with everything. What if it doesn't stay the same? What if it goes down? Because now you're not only responsible for one person, you're responsible for two persons. Let's say you get an apartment, $3,000. Oh, we're gonna share it, split it, $1,500 each. Beautiful. What if the other person loses their job? And then you guys are both co-signing the apartment, and let's say you might not be able to afford the apartment anymore. What will happen then? So think about this, ask these questions, and make sure to be clear about the answers. Have a plan. If you ask me, I would say write them down together. Sit down one night, write these things together. And if you guys are not ready, or if there is some question that are unanswered, maybe it's not the right time to move in with each other. The fourth one, there is another person involved. There is another person involved, sometimes a roommate. And if there is another roommate that is involved and they don't like the idea of someone else coming into their house, I will be very uncomfortable entering that relationship, because that will be a sabotage to your relationship, not only to that relationship, but to the relationship of your partner and the roommate. And if you guys break up, their roommate might be liable. And it's important that if you want this relationship to go to the next step, don't violate their space nor anyone else's space. And if their roommate is not crazy about the idea or uncomfortable, what I would suggest is you keep your own place, wait till that lease is over, wait till they see where the relationship goes in the future, and then once they're done with that roommate, then think about, okay, what can we do right now? So the maturest answer is to just wait it out. If they have a roommate, don't jump in. If your partner is thinking of bringing someone else and two of you can't afford the house that you're gonna live together and you need another person as a roommate, maybe that relationship that you're trying to build is not mature enough yet. And if you say, oh, we'll live in New York, or oh, we'll live in London, or oh, we'll live in DC or Boston or LA and it's expensive, everyone has roommate. But here's the thing, you're not in a friendship relationship. You're trying to take the relationship to a next step, you know? And if you're ready to take that relationship to the next step and you can't provide for one another, balance each other out, and you need another person, another wheel, what happens if that wheel doesn't stay? What happens if there's conflict and that other person decides they want to leave, or that other person decides they're done with it, or you decide you don't like that other person? You either gonna destroy the relationship, you're gonna have financial problem, financial difficulty, it's gonna hurt your credit, and that's just gonna be difficult. So make sure to check on that. Make sure to be sure about the relationships that your partner has. The next item that is really important is, how is your partner's relationship with their family, and how is your relationship with your family? If you haven't met his family or her family, and if you guys haven't had a chance to sit down and go to your family's house, then it's really important to rethink your choices. Because here's the thing, a lot of time we neglect this, and this doesn't apply to everyone. That's why you shouldn't assume, you should always check. But a lot of times families can have a big impact into a relationship. And I see over and over again that relationship gets destroyed because families don't take care of their boundaries. Families don't stay in their line. Not saying in any bad ways, but the thing is sometimes people care and they want to involve themselves. And the thing is that maybe I'm okay with it, but my partner may not be okay with it, or maybe my partner is okay with it, I'm not okay with it. Is your partner a type of person that likes to spend all weekend with his family? Are you a type of person that like to spend all weekend with your family? If that's the case, how are you two feel about this? How does your partner feel about this? How do you feel about it? Maybe I'm not okay with you spending all your free time with your parents. So this is person to person, but it's really important for you to give it a little bit of thought before moving into something and before it becoming too late. The next very important item is that, what is your hobby? Which means, what do you like to do during your free time? Sometimes when I live by myself, I just like to take all my clothes off and just sit down in my underwear next to the TV, watch Netflix all day and play video games, hypothetically. What if you guys are living together? What does your partner like? Maybe your partner doesn't like watching TV all day. Maybe your partner doesn't like to live in a certain way. So if you don't know your hobby, if you know your hobby but you don't know your partner's hobbies and what do they do during their alone time, and that's not something that you find out overnight. This is something that you will learn as time passes on, and you kind of put pieces next to each other. And if you don't know it, that might be an issue later down the road, as you guys gonna have conflict. You want to do something on your free time, your partner wants to do something else, and here's gonna be a huge conflict. That's where you see a lot of time in these movies that couples, when one of them goes on a vacation, the other one just breathes, finally I have the house to myself. That's unhealthy. So know your hobby, know your partner's hobby, and then find some balance in between that you both enjoy. The next thing that is really important, also, by the way, all of these are important, and that's why I emphasize this is very important, because I think every one of them that I think about, I'm like, oh, this is also important. So take it as the face value. Whatever you find important or interesting, take that one. The next thing that I think is important before getting involved or taking that relationship to the next step is that you and your partner need to go on a vacation. You guys need to go on a week-long trip. Doesn't matter where, but you guys need to go on a trip. During the trip, it's not always high time. There is always low time. There is always frustration. There is always, now, don't go on a cruise or somewhere that it's all expense paid. Go on an adventure. Go somewhere that is new to both of you. Go somewhere that not everything is planned out. Doesn't matter how long it is, maybe minimum 2 days. During that trip, you will see your partner's true nature. How do they react to frustration? How do they react to stress? How do they react to anxiety? How do they react to certain things not adding up? The more and more you understand your partner and yourself, the better you can plan your relationship. If you like this video, I have a suspicion that you might just like this video next.